Hi, this is Pavel with a C# exercise from the book C# 2012 How to Program. This is chapter 6 chapter 10 exercise 6. Enhancing class date. Now before we do anything, let me just say that this is a modification. We are given a code to begin with, to start working with, and we are supposed to modify it or enhance it. So let me just show you what it does right now at this point before we do any other coding. When I run it, it simply displays a bunch of dates. It's and a bunch of text as well. These are all toString methods for each class. This is basically first date, which should correspond with the date of hire. Birthday, and the second date is date of hire, and then the third line simply displays the name of an employee and hired and birthday and the corresponding dates. Now let me just show you quickly the code in case you don't actually have the book. The date class, let me just start with the employee class. That's simpler. All it has is a first name, last name, birthday, and a hire date. These are all properties with public get and private set. We are not going to be setting these. We are just going to be retrieving them. They will be set with the constructor. In the constructor, we pass the first name, last name, the date of birth, and date of hire. Date of birth and date of hire are of date, the variables of date or class date. I'm sorry, and we assign these arguments that we pass into the constructor straight to our properties: first name, last name, birth date, and hire date. And we have our toString method, which simply returns in a formatted way. This was the third line that you saw on the console when I run the program again. It simply displays the last name, first name, hired, and birthday right here. Alright, so that's our employee class. Another class that we are given is the date class. Now the date class has a property, private variable of month and a day. And months will be 1 through 12, day will be 1 through 31. Those are the valid numbers. We have an auto-implemented property year. It's simply again get and private set. In the constructor of this class, we pass in the month, the day, and the year, and assigning these to our properties month, year, and day. We also, straight from the constructor, we are outputting the line that says date object constructor for date. That's again what you could see when I run the program again. That's the line that you can see right here: date object constructor for the birth date, basically, and the object constructor for the hire date. And in the property of month, we have a get that returns the month. That's fairly straightforward, and we are validating the input to make sure that it's between 0 and 12. That is between 1 and 12. It has to be greater than 0 because those are the valid numbers for a month. If it is not, then we'll simply throw an exception that says the month, and it repeats the value that is. Let's say I enter 13, so it would say month 13th, and it says month must be 1 to 12. Similarly with day, we return the day if it's correct. However, before we validate it in our set, we have an array of integers that hold the number of days for each month. Now the first is the element 0. We simply ignore that. There is no month 0. We start from the month 1, which corresponds with January, and January has 31 days. February has 28 days, March has 31 days, and so forth until December, which has 31 days. So each of these elements corresponds with the month and the number of days, and holds the value which corresponds with the number of days for each month. However, we validate the input for the days. Again, we validate that it's greater than 0, because obviously that's incorrect. If it's you cannot have a day 0, and it has to be less or equal to the corresponding number of days. So when I go, for example, to this is January, February, March, April, and I try to enter April 31st, this will not validate, so it will come over here and throw an exception. However, we not only validate whether the number is correct, we specifically validate for February. If the month equals 2 and the value equals 29, because there could be a 29 days in February on the leap year. We are basically checking for the leap year. And they came up with a formula basically that says if the remainder of a division year divided by 400 is equal to 0, or the remainder of year divided by 4 equals to 0, and the remainder a year divided by 100 is not equal to 0. Basically, if this is true, then it's a leap year, and we can assign the 29 to February. That would be still correct. If it's not, then it's a out of range exception, because it's an invalid number of days for the month. Now this is the formula that they gave us. I will show you how to do it in a much simpler way. For now, I'll just keep it. So when I go to my program, and we also have the toString method which formats the month, day, and year with the slashes. And over here in our main, that's basically we create object birth, assign some numbers. The same with hire. We create new employee and pass the name, the first name, last name, and the birthday and hire dates. And then we will output the formatted output from the employee. So now let me just show you what happens if I enter, let's say, invalid month 13. Then there is no month 13. If I do that, it should throw an exception. And you can see that it's not doing anything, and it's throwing exception now. Months must be 1 through 12 right here. And similarly, if I do it, I'm still running. If I do it for the days, let's say I do 32 days. You know what? Let me do what was the month? It was April, has only 30 days. So if I do April 31, that should throw an exception, because that's only 30 days in April. And it's thinking, it's trying to do its thing, and it cannot find it, and they out of range for current month or year. So that's actually working fine as expected. Now I found a website with the leap years, and let's say 2008 and 2012 were leap years. So if I run this with the 2012 date, I'll make this 2012, and I'll make it February and 29. That should be correct, because it was a leap year. There were actually 29 days in February, and it took it to 2012. Now if I change this to 2011, which was not a leap year, it should throw an exception. And it's going to throw it, as you can see. And here it is. Date out of range. Okay, so this is what we are given, and it's working fine. It throws the it validates the values as expected. It throws the exceptions as expected, and this is what we are supposed to do. we are to modify class date to perform error checking on the initializer values for instance variables month, day, and year. Class date currently validates only month and day, so we don't have to do anything with those, but we have to do the year. You will need to convert the auto-implemented property year into instance variable year with an associated year property. As if you can see over here, right now we have auto-implemented property of year, and we'll have to do it as a private variable with assigned property. We need to provide a method called NextDay to increment the day by 1. The date object should always maintain valid data and throw exception when attempts are made to set invalid values. And we are going to write an app that tests the NextDay method in a loop that displays the date during each iteration of the loop to illustrate that the NextDay method works correctly. So basically we will output a bunch of dates in a loop. They would go, let's say, through change in month. We would start from January, and then we would go to February, and the values had to be picked up and by the program, and they automatically changed into correct months, and or even a year. If you, let's say, go from December 1 year to January of this other year, the program has to determine that, okay, this is the end of 1 year and another year starts over here. So we will do that loop, and we will test the following cases: incrementing the next month and incrementing to the next year. So again, we will start looping. We will start looping through a bunch of months, and the number of days for each month has to be correct. And if we go through the year, also at the end of December 31st, we will start January 1st of the next year. The program has to pick that up. Alright, so that was a long explanation, but like I said, if you didn't have a book, you would be kind of lost to see what I'm doing here. But let's start coding now. Let's start changing the code to get the assignment to work. So first, let's do this one. So this is going to be a private integer, a year. It's not an auto-implemented property anymore, so I'll just delete that. And now, obviously, this is now throwing an error because we don't have a property year, but we will create one. We can create one right now, actually. Right over here, we can do. I'll do public integer. Oops, that's public integer year, and we will get will be the same as before. It will simply return the year, but set we will have to validate. Just so we don't use any years. Let's kind of like an arbitrary validation that the year falls between 1900 and, let's say, 2020. So if value is equal or greater than 1900 and where's end, and the value is less or equal to 2020. This is, again, you can do any values you want. The year is correct, so we can do the year equals to value. Otherwise, we will throw an exception, just like we do with the days and months. We will throw new argument out of range exception, and something like year of the value, and the message will be year must be between 1900 and 220. So that's just a simple validation. Again, this is arbitrary. It could be really any numbers you want. So what's next? They wanted us to do the increment in the day and month for our loops. So let me just scroll this up like this, and I will create a method called public void NextDay, and in it I will do a try and catch because just to we will throw an exception if the day is over, but we will that's when we will catch the exception, but we will process it. Instead of throwing an exception, we will just catch it and process it. So I will do try day equals, and we can increase the day. However, if this does not work anymore, if let's say the day would be 32, then that would throw an error, but we're not going to throw an error. What we are going to do, we are going to catch the exception of the, and the exception that it would catch this is the argument out of range exception, and we are going to process it, and it's a simple if statement. If month equals 12, in other words, if the day is out of range, then we are moving to the next month or the next year or both. So if the month is equal to 12 and you catch this exception, then you are moving to another year, because it's going to be, because this is already a December month. Month number 12 is December, of course. So then we will assign our month equals 1, that's January, and the year we will increment by 1. So we will our year will increase. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Increase by 1. So let's say if the year was if the month was December 31st of 2012, then and the day now changed to 32, which is invalid. It comes over here and it says, all right, month equal 12. Yep. So then the month equals now 1, which is January, and year now will equals to 2013. We will increment it by 1. Else, if it's the exception is being caught, but the month wasn't 12, we are still within the same year, so we are only moving to the next month. So month plus plus. Like that. All right, and in any case, the day will be 1 because we start a new month no matter what. Whether we start a new year or not, if we start a new month, we always have to start from the first. Day equals 1. That's the first of the month of the year. And yeah, that's basically what they mean. They want us to move to the next day, and this is a good way to do it. You'll be trying to increment the day. If the day is valid, you keep going. This will not trigger. If the day becomes invalid, it checks for the month. If it's 12, we know that we just reached the end of the month of the year. So we have a January now, which is month first, and we have a next year, and we have a day 1, which we have regardless. And if it's not month equals to 12, we are still within the same year, so we don't do anything with the year. The year doesn't change, but the month and the day changes. We are moving to the next month. All right, so that's the next method, and not sure if anything else needs to be done at this point. So what we can do now is go to our program and do the in the main method and do the loop. Now I will leave this as is. I will simply add another date. I will create a date equals new date and create a new object. 12, let's make it 24 2014. That's my new date. This doesn't represent any hire or birthday. It's just a date, which we're going to display and loop through. Not equal, of course. New date. Okay, so now I'm going to create a loop, and I'm going to loop. It really doesn't matter how many times. It's a simple for loop. Integer I equals 0. I is less than. I'll do 165, which basically represents 165 days. So we are going to print 165 dates. So we will be able to observe whether at the end of each month a new month starts, or whether at the end of the year another year starts. If the exception that we are catching actually works. And within it, we'll call the new date object, and we will call the NextDay, the NextDay method. That's the one we just created. All right, that's this one that we just created that catches the exception. So it will loop. And it will assign, I will increment, and with each incrementation it will, let's say, be 32, and then it will throw an error or exception, will come, but it should process it and validate it, and kind of assign new value to the date as appropriate based on the year and month. And so we will simply output console.write line. We will output the new date. Okay, so let's see what it does, if anything. We start from 12/24/2014. So it displayed bunch of dates, and it starts, okay, the next day is 12/25/2014, and see over here it's 12/31/2014, but after that it jumps to 1/1/2015. So it increments the month and the date and the year as expected, as we intended. So when I scroll down, after January, which is 31 days, it goes to February 1st, so it jumps correctly. It only has 28 days for February, and after that it goes to March. So it catches the exception and adjusts the values to the next date as intended and as is appropriate. Like when it reaches the end of March, it goes to April automatically. And yeah, so that seems to be working actually correctly. Let's make this you know what, let's make this 2011. Remember 2012 was a leap year, so this should give us the last few days of 2011 and then move to 2012, but February this time should have 29 days. So let's see if that actually processes it correctly. So we have a bunch of dates again. It starts with the 12/25/2011 and it goes to January 1/2012 as expected, and then the February, after January is over, it goes to February 2012, and look at this, 2/29/2012, because it was a leap year. So there you have it. That's that's really all there was to this modification. Again, with each we call this method with each iteration of the loop, right? And so we create and within it we try to increase the day. So whatever the day we start, let's say we start with in this case we start with the day 24, so it comes over here and increments it to 25. Is that a problem? No, it still validates. It comes over here to our property day and it validates it as expected. Then it goes to 26, 27, 28, 29 and still validates because the month is 12. So it validates all the way to 31. After that, it tries to do the day 32 over here, but it won't validate over here. It will throw an exception. Nope, not here. It will throw argument out of range exception, which we will catch. And now we know we reach the end of the month. So we check, all right, this is the current month 12, and it happens so that it is. So we know, okay, this was the last day that we just had was 12/31, which was the last day of the year. So we will assign 1 to the month. We start January, and we will increment the year by 1. We will start the next year, and we will also start the day from the day 1. So basically, at the end, we will get January 1st, 2015, or whatever the next year is. And it goes again to January, and it does this 31 times. Then it comes 32 times, which won't validate over here in the day property. It returns the argument out of range exception that we catch. So it comes over here. Is month 12? No, the month currently is 1, so we don't get a new year. We'll simply increase the months. So we come over here and increase the month from 1 to 2, and day to 1, of course, because it's a February 1st. And then we do this again and again for February, but it comes to 29, and it comes to day, and it validates it, and it validates it as correct because the year that we had currently is 2012, which happens to be a leap year. So it does not throw an exception just yet. However, with the next iteration, when the day it tries to increase to 30, there is no 30 days in February, so it comes over here. It bypasses these months. Is not 12, it's only 2, so it does not execute this statement, but it increases the month by 1. So now we go to March 1st. Alright, so that's how it works. Now, I told you that I will show you how to do this leap year in a little friendlier way, or more readable way. This is like a formula that they gave us, but there is actually a way to check for the leap year directly in the C#, and it's a date time class, and the method is simply isLeapYear. This is built in to C#, and we will pass the integer. It's looking for an integer of our year. That's our property year, and that's all. It simply comes over here. If the month is February and the value of the day is 29, check if this was a leap year, and if it is, then it's a correct date. If not, then throw the out of range exception. So if I run it now, I still have 12/24/2011. So in 2012 was the leap year. It still should show 29 days, and in February, and it does 2/29/2012. Now, what if I try to throw a wrong number? Let's say 13 for the month right from the start. If I run it now, it should actually throw an exception. It performs these because these are hard-coded before that, but now it throws the exception. It says the, I don't know if you can see it, month must be 1 to 12. So it does catch the exception based on the code that we were given before. That code still validates. We did not adjust that in any case. All we did was enabled to move from 1 month, or from 1 day and 1 month and a year, to the next day, next month, and next year. Alright, so let me change this back. So if I run it again, just so you can see one more time, we get the first output that is that we got from the original code that we were given, and then we output bunch of dates, and you can observe that they do increment from, like I said, from December 31st to January 1st to next year. It calculates the leap year correctly. 2/29/2012 was a leap year in 2012. After March goes May, after April goes May, and April only has 30 days, so it did not do 4/31/2012, which was correct. When it tried to hit 31 days in April, it knew that it has to increment the month to the next day and the next day to May 1st, but keep the date because it was only in April, only if the December of the year is December, only then we will move to the next year as well. All right, so I hope this makes sense. Hopefully you learned at least one or two tricks here. If you liked it, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you next time. Take care.